Seeing something that says the broadcast is not available. It says we're live. It says 3 people are watching. But I'm also seeing something that says it's not available. Check. Okay. Yeah, it's playing. Welcome, everybody. We're just going to wait a couple minutes to let a few people join, and then we will be starting soon. We've got a very special guest this evening, Culture Explorer. I am very eager to dive into a great discussion about culture and his journey on X, and we will begin momentarily. Welcome, everybody. We're going to begin momentarily with our special guest, Culture Explorer. We're just waiting for a few more people to join, and we'll be starting right away. Hey, I am checking people on my phone and on my laptop. I see the stream on my laptop, but on my phone, it's saying the broadcast is not available. So if you're able, please comment and let me know, how are you watching this? If you're watching on a laptop or on your phone, I'd really like to make sure if we're having any technical difficulties, we get this worked out. To comment, don't comment on the post. You got to click on the video, and then there'll be a live chat where you can type over at the side. I'm going to do a comment on the live chat right now. So if you see my hello, everyone, that is where you can comment as well. We'll begin in just a moment. Okay. Looks like we got everything working now. We are live on the phone and on the PC, so we will begin. Welcome, everybody. This is another MADTalks. I'm David. I've got the account Mad Dad Trips, Middle-Aged Dad Trips. And tonight we have a very special guest. We have Culture Explorer. We're going to talk about his account and his growth here on X and the excited things that he is working on. And we're going to talk a lot about culture and what it means to him. So let me bring him in here. Culture Explorer, how are you doing, sir?
Hello, David. I'm doing good. How are you? Thank you for having me on.
Very well. Absolutely. I'm so excited to have you. For people that are new to your account, I just want to share a little bit. I'm fairly new to X and trying to navigate this. I quickly saw Culture Explorer as somebody that's doing great things on here. And I reached out to him, and he has always been so helpful to me and really kind of taken me under his wing and given me some great guidance. And I've heard the same thing from a lot of other people. So I am indebted to this man. I am very grateful for him and for what he's doing on X. And I highly recommend follow him, subscribe to him. The subscription is well worth it. And he is just a great all-around guy. So Culture Explorer, would you mind just saying hello and telling us a little bit about your account, and we'll kind of dive in.
Yes, David. Thank you. Again, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to have had a chance to talk to you, converse with you. I'm mostly on X, but now on your program as well. So I'm really happy about that. And so yeah, my account, I started it in the late summer of 2023. And that was after I came back from Italy.
Okay.
So I had visited Rome, Florence, and Portofino. Went to Italy for 10 days or 12 days, and got a chance to see these places. And
was this your first trip?
Back, yeah, that was my first trip to Italy.
Yeah, great.
So when I got back, I used to post on Twitter once in a while, maybe once a month, and mostly look at it for news purposes. But so when I got back, I came across a post from um, uh, culture culture critic,
Oh yeah.
and uh, so I just kind of replied to that post. I recall it being about what's the best book in the world, right? I mean, he posts those type of posts, and I put, Tale of Two Cities. I hadn't seen anybody put that, so I said I just put that one there. It's a fantastic book. I read it, enjoyed it, so why not? And it got 100,000 views, something like that. Yes, so somewhere between like 50,000 and 100,000 views.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
said, oh wow, huh? And that was like my first time kind of even replying. But one thing is, at that time, it was like a few times, and I just kind of subscribed to him. Or maybe it was after that. Yeah, I think it was after that. He might have tweeted it, or he might have liked it, or commented on it, and that's why it got that many views. Otherwise,
Yeah.
typically you don't get seen. But that was also early on too, as well, before everybody else started following him and replying to him, and kind of realized,
Okay.
oh yeah, when you reply to him, it's easier to get seen.
Right.
And so once he had a lot of subscribers, it became more about, oh, you had to subscribe to him now to be seen.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, so that was how initially, I think it was like in July of 2023, I was just kind of answering, replying to, or interacting with Culture Critic, his post.
Okay.
And maybe I might have seen a few others as well, but not really that much. And then said, okay, why don't I try this, what he's doing? And I like culture. I enjoy culture. And
Yeah.
I've traveled to a lot of places in the world, kind of seen a lot and met with a lot of people. So, but rather than being a critic, I thought, well, why don't we, because the focus was a lot on uh, uh, Western art and architecture.
Right.
And I said, let's bring the entire world. Why do we need to limit ourselves to Western? There's a lot to see in both
Right.
West and East. And
So let me ask you. So you had the Twitter account, and you took a trip to Italy, and then you see Culture Critic, what he's doing. Were you inspired by your Italian trip to get more involved in culture, and that kind of led to your
definitely, yeah.
interaction? Or was it okay? So it's not so much a. I mean, obviously there can be a business side to it. There is a business side, but it's also there's like this inspiration from your travel. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, it was mainly inspiration at the time. I mean,
Yeah. Okay.
I don't even think about business side of this. I
Yeah.
just
Right.
did it for fun, and I said, okay, this is kind of cool. I just saw this great, beautiful architecture. I always wanted to visit Florence.
Yeah. Right.
Because it's the
I,
birthplace of the Renaissance, right? So,
yeah.
having come across that, and then kind of saying, okay, I have something to contribute to this discussion too now.
Yeah. I had a little bit different experience, but kind of similar. I actually started on YouTube, and then I came to Twitter to try to promote the YouTube side. And
Okay.
I kind of became disillusioned with YouTube, and so it was originally a little business driven, but then I was seeing some beautiful things on X, and then I went to Italy for the first time, and I mean, it's like I got hit over the head. You know what I mean? It's like, why don't we have this in the United States? We're missing
Right.
so much over here. And I just wanted to share so much with everybody. And along the way, I've been to many other places, Japan and other places. And I thought there's so much out there to see. And I'm so excited about it. I want to share, whoever wants to, see my pictures from my trip or learn about what I've learned about, I want to share. So it's neat to see that you got that same passion and are sharing it with so many people.
Yeah, exactly. The same incentive, same inspiration.
Yeah.
I think Italy kind of changes you, kind of says, oh wow,
Oh yeah.
makes you. Uh, but, I mean, it's one thing seeing in pictures. I mean, of course, we pretty much have seen everything in pictures, but when you see it in real life and right in
Yeah.
front of you, it's
Right.
completely another experience. And
Right.
having had traveled to like other places like Spain, Turkey, I've been to Spain, Turkey, so it wasn't like, oh wow, this is unique. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like, um, why don't I come here earlier, right? And but it was this kind of uh, having seen in Spain, having seen Greece, having seen Turkey. There's beauty everywhere, and
Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of uh, uh, being exposed to the birthplace of civilization, right? That's
Right. Right.
uh,
And it's so neat when you travel like that to see the differences. How what a beautiful building looks like here, or
yeah,
over here, but also the similarities. You know what I mean, between the people and the things that they celebrate and what's important to them. And
mhm,
that's something that was so eye opening to me, is just how common we are when you get past the governments and the politics and you talk to the average
right,
guy and gal on the street, and they've got their kid and they want a bright future for them and they're working hard, and they
right.
want peace. That really spoke to me, like, you know I'm still a proud American, but I've got friends that I love across the globe, so
Exactly,
it's
exactly.
eye opening.
Yeah, it definitely
So,
is.
your account, man, you have been going gangbusters. You recently just passed 100,000 subscribers, and it's like you didn't even pause there. You're just flew past it. So congratulations on that. I'm always
Thank
excited
you.
to see how you are growing and what you're doing. Um, can you talk a little bit about, because there's a lot of people watching, I'm sure, that are inspired by you and want to do something similar. Maybe they've got a different niche, but there's certain things that are going to apply. Can you kind of talk about your journey on X, what you've learned? It seems like the algorithm's always changing, so how do you stay on your toes? Maybe just some strategies you have for building followers and a community that kind of appreciates what you're doing.
Oh, sure. So when I started on X, right, I'd never been into social media. My only thing was okay to maybe to consume, to look for news. If something late breaking is happening, I knew X was the place to go, or Twitter was the place to go for the latest updates. It's either that or go to YouTube, right? Uh, Legacy media is not going to be on top of it immediately. Eventually, they are, but you can get the latest updates in these places.
Yeah.
So it was good to meet a few others who were starting on their journey. There are several accounts that I met at that time. Some are still here, uh, and some are long gone, and some are. Uh, uh, I think they're still present, but they never really grew, or they never either focused on growing, or they just don't have time.
Yeah.
So uh, it was good. So the first 3 months took some time to kind of grow, because it was you're trying to get to 1,000 followers, and when I got to 1,000 followers, like a big deal.
Yeah.
It was a big celebration, but it took about 3 months, and then that's it, when I came across. Uh, as I said, I used to uh, start getting to know Culture Critical a little bit, and then I got. He mentioned to me about Art of Purpose. I got to
Yeah.
know Art of Purpose. I joined his masterclass, and there he told me that I needed to update my profile. My profile before was kind of just my uh, personal account. In fact, it was under a pseudonym personal account, but it had no meaning, no nothing.
Yeah.
And so I talked about culture, I talked about science, I talked about like just different things.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, the stock market and got into that. And so it was like all over the place. And Art of Purpose told me that, look, so I took his master class, and that has been really helpful because since I took his master class, my trajectory kind of improved significantly. And so this interacting with these large accounts, Culture Critic and Art of Purpose, kind of really made me start thinking about from a growth perspective. And when Culture Critic opened his newsletter, so we used to chat. He said, if you are interested in doing this long term, you want a newsletter too. I said, why? Because he said, because you don't own your followers on X. Suppose one day they close your account or they don't like what you have to say. What are you going to do? And so I said, oh, good point. So I think he had started he said that he wished he had started a long time ago. So that was like one feedback that he kind of gave me. I said, you want to start your newsletter as soon as possible. So in March of 2023, it was like 2024, I started my newsletter. But I think the masterclass was really helpful in kind of helping me kind of identify a brand. So if you look at my avatar, guess who it is? It's a pretty famous person.
I'm going to tell everybody how stupid I am because I did not recognize who your picture is. And I asked you last time we spoke, and you told me it's Marco Polo, which makes perfect sense for your account. So if anybody else was wondering, Marco Polo.
So not many people may necessarily have seen. I mean, everybody has heard of Marco Polo, but not many people may know of Marco Polo outside of Netflix series, right?
Right.
And so when I was trying to think of coming up with an avatar, I said, okay, I want to talk about both East and West. So who are the individuals who kind of represent East and West? And the first name that came up was Marco Polo. And I don't know if you ever used to play in the swimming pool.
Absolutely.
There used to be a game, right?
Right.
Marco,
I think the kids still play it. I hope they do. I still hear it from time to time. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I originally knew about Marco Polo. But I also used to read adventure stuff, and so before the Netflix series. And so I liked that name. But I decided not to choose the name. I went with Culture Explorer rather than going with Marco Polo. And don't ask me why, because I don't know why I did that. Maybe
that's great.
If I were to go back, I might have chosen Marco Polo as the name, but. I went with something.
I'm gonna get on X and take that real quick before somebody else does.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of. Let me ask you a couple of questions here, because I probably was. It sounds like you came to X and you didn't. You created this personal account or whatever, and it wasn't quite focused. And through the master class, you learned you need to focus it and kind of hone in on a niche and. Not be all over the place. I came here and I kind of had an idea what I wanted to do. And then I've been exposed to all these other things that have like ignited a passion in me where, I thought I was the only one or, and I see like there's this whole community that just loves culture and wants to talk about it. And, my name is Mad Dad Trips, middle-aged dad. Now I'm a middle-aged dad and I love to go on trips and I want to share them. But then it's like, I've contemplated a few times, like, do I delve into, I guess culture is, within the trip sphere, that's kind of the purpose of it, but it doesn't really describe. So I thought, should I change my name? Should I start over? And I'm always kind of like second guessing myself and what I'm doing. Can you talk about like what are some mistakes that people should avoid? Like how does somebody kind of hone in on what they want to do on here? How focused do they need to be? How do they and here's the other dilemma I face, and I think maybe a lot of you people do. Let me know if you do. Is okay. I want to post what I'm excited about and what I would want to talk about, but then the other side of it is maybe that doesn't get seen, and there's these trends and the algorithm game, and it's like, okay, I start trying to cater to the algorithm or to some trend, and I'm trying to reply to culture critic, so that I get seen, like you mentioned, and then it's like, am I working like for the algorithm, or am I doing this because it's like it's kind of like this authenticity versus appeal, and hopefully
Mhm.
those two align. But like, do you have any advice for how should I go about it? How should the listeners go about this?
I mean, you have about 2,500, about
Uh,
3,000
yeah, about
followers.
3,000 now. Yep, yep.
Yeah. So until about I was 8,000, I was very focused on replies.
Hmm.
And so I had found 4 accounts. One was Culture Critic, of course.
Yep,
Then I also identified James,
yep.
um,
James Lucas, great account.
James Lucas, yes, and Architect Order,
Yes, sir.
um,
Another
and
great account.
yeah, and Architecture and Tradition. So these
Yeah.
4 accounts, I
Yep.
identified them, and I subscribed to them. And
Hmm.
I said, okay, I just need to be seen by them, get to know them,
Yeah.
uh, while I'm getting to know other accounts. But these are the ones that I'm going to focus replies to. So
Yeah.
I maybe replied about 5, 6 times a day, and maybe just created 2, 3 posts of mine.
Hmm.
Uh, and I was seeing pretty good performance with that. Uh, I think there's a lot more competition now. Uh,
Okay.
everybody's everybody's subscribing to the same accounts
Yeah.
to be seen. So as more people compete,
Yeah.
right, your visibility is going to decrease a little bit.
Hmm.
But that helped me gain monetization pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It took me about a month to maybe about 5 weeks
Wow. That's
to
really good.
gain 5 million impressions.
That's
Um,
great.
yeah, it was. I mean, it also helped that one of my replies to Culture Critic went to 1 million.
Yeah. When you get something viral, it definitely helps getting monetized. I had
Yeah.
a similar experience where I didn't get monetized as quickly as that, but I had a video that got almost 1 million views, and then I had a post about Florence, and it got over 3 million views. And then I already had I think the followers that are verified. I can't remember, it's
Mhm.
500 or something like that. But I think everybody to get verified fairly soon, you need some kind of viral thing. But it seems like it just happens out of the blue sometimes. So don't lose hope if you're trying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, viral. I didn't aim for going viral. I was just
Right.
happy when it did.
Yeah.
It felt good, but I think I saw other people going viral a lot more
Yeah.
than myself, and but I just
It's
kind of
frustrating, right?
it is, but at the same time, I think consistency is
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. For sure.
if you can achieve some sort of if you let's take the baseball analogy, right? If you can go for singles and doubles,
Right.
you're going to start racking in runs. But if you
Yep.
try to hit the home run each time,
Yeah.
your batting average is going to be
Occasionally.
very
Yeah.
low, right?
Right.
So yeah, so you can either focus on small hits and steal a base every now and then. Or
Right. So I think what I'm picking up from you, what I've kind of learned is, I think you told me the first time we talked was subscribe to some of these accounts. You need some
yeah,
skin in the game. If
definitely.
those were your words, like if you want to try to do this, invest some money, subscribe to these people, and like I don't know how many people watching are familiar with that, but for some people are $3, some people are $4 or $5
Hmm.
for that per month. It's a cup of coffee a month. You can subscribe to Culture Critic, and your replies are boosted, so he sees them. He sees that you're a subscriber, so he's much more likely, out of the thousands of people that are commenting to him, he's more likely to comment back to you. It's the same thing for Culture Critic or James Lucas or anybody.
Right,
And when they do
exactly.
that, you get more views, more people see you, and they might follow you then. But there is kind of this game that you play on X, and you seem to have like cracked the code or understand it very well. What about the algorithm? It seems like it changes a lot, and there's certain, you got to
Yeah,
post this many times, or you got to do this, or can you just talk just briefly about the algorithm? How do you know what the algorithm's doing, and are there just some key takeaways that we can have today for what does the algorithm want today?
yeah. So I also have a kind of a course on that,
Okay.
um, on the algorithm. But imagine yourself as a street performer, right? And your goal is to get seen. So how do you get seen, right? You want to be consistent. You want to have your best act. You want to present things that people enjoy but have not seen, right?
Yeah.
And so you need uh, consistency. You need high quality. You need visibility. Um, when I say visibility, meaning uh, that if I'm posting in the mornings, if I'm posting daily, right, then I should post daily. But if I post one day and, like, for example, I'll give you an example. When I realized that these people, the four accounts that I'm mentioning, were
Yep.
posting regularly, and do they had pretty decent following, and they would get pretty decent views regularly. So as a result, because they were posting regularly, I specifically looked out for them. Right,
Yeah. Right.
I sought them. I put them on my notifications, and I went and looked for them, and then I replied to them. And I tried to get the best reply, not just any reply. Though sometimes I had seen replies such as, "Oh, awesome, go wild."
All right.
That
We've
did
all
happen
been
once.
there. Yeah. You post something brilliant, it's a beautiful picture and nobody sees it. And somebody says LOL and they're
Yeah,
I know. Yeah.
right. So you don't necessarily know what will resonate with people, but
All
sometimes
right.
even the simplest things can resonate because if I'm finding it awesome, other people are thinking also, oh yeah, they're finding it awesome too, and
Right.
saying, oh, why don't I just click on this? Awesome. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I agree. Rather than typing my awesome again,
Right.
I'm just gonna agree with this with this reply.
Yeah.
So that type. So just yeah, being consistent and making sure that you get if you're posting daily, you're posting you're posting daily. You're not taking a break, or if you're taking a break, you're always taking a break on the same days, right? So people eventually get to know you, and then they get to follow, to start following you. And I think that helps a lot. A lot of people uh, sometimes they get disappointed, even if you get disappointed, uh, even if you don't get seen, or I think it's better to have one post a day than post 3 posts in one day and then don't post for 2 days and then
Oh, okay.
come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. That.
Yeah.
So it's really so if you're a street performer and someone likes you,
Yeah.
they enjoy you, right? And so you're performing in this one corner here today, and next day you decide to go somewhere else,
Yeah.
perform there, but people are coming to this one place where they expected you, and not that they're gonna see you. So you have to think of the algorithm that way. So that's how I look at the algorithm. I think that's the simplest way to kind of look at it.
That's great.
Uh,
That is great advice. I want to real quickly to the people watching. It looks like we got a good group. Thank you everybody for tuning in. If you could, please help us both. Say hello in the comments below. And there's a little trick. If you're on a PC or if you're on your phone, you can't just comment on the post, but actually click in the video. And there should be, if you're on a PC, it'll be a chat will open up over on the right-hand side, and you can just chat down at the bottom. If you're on your phone, it should just say live chat right down at the bottom. Looks like we got some people. Liberty Mom is saying hello. Virtuala, I'm going to say this wrong. Virtualola is watching. Hello. Shelly from Beautiful Histories is watching. Hello, 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 everybody. I appreciate you guys watching here. And if you guys can repost, retweet, that would be great. Or even in the comments, say, hey, I'm watching. So the more the merrier. I want to turn things a little bit here. I do want to say, folks, stick around at the end. Culture Explorer is going to talk about some exciting things he's got. If you're interested in growing on X, you want to get to know Culture Explorer even more. He's got some great services that he's offering, and he's going to tell us more about that. So I'm excited about that. But let's talk a little bit about culture. You are the Culture Explorer. I think everybody watching here is really interested in what you're posting. I'm going to read 2 definitions of culture. Okay, what is culture? One, I always like to look at an old definition because it seems like the modern definitions in dictionaries and Google get so watered down it almost doesn't mean anything. So this is from Webster's 1828 dictionary. Culture, it's from the word cultura, which means to cultivate. Okay, that makes sense. The training, improvement, and refinement of mind, tastes, and manners, the result of mental and moral training. Okay, I think that's really interesting. Result of mental and more. Yeah, the result of mental and moral training. Okay, so that is from 1828. The modern definition is the arts and other manifestations of human intellectual achievement regarded collectively. So I think the modern definition is something that we immediately identify with. One thing that I think the modern definition is kind of lacking, when it says intellectual achievement, to me that feels like, what are you inventing? How are you progressing with your inventions? And it seems more like this industrial revolution kind of things and stuff, and what we're figuring out, this age of enlightenment, more like knowledge. And I think that the older definition really gets to the root of what it is more. The training, improvement, and refinement of mind, tastes, and manners, the result of mental and moral training. It seems like, and when you think of the word culture, like you're cultivating this plant, it's like you're nurturing, you're tending to this thing for your society to grow up your society in the way that you are, who you are as a people. There's an interesting quote here I found from T.S. Eliot. It says, "No culture can appear or develop except in relation to a religion. The culture will appear to flourish for a while after the religious faith has fallen into decay, but it will gradually become more and more subject to the influence of other cultures." I can't help but think of the USA today, that feels very much like us. And I often, I'm in the USA, I'm part of this people, and I feel like we don't have a culture. I would wonder, like, I'm interested in your thoughts. What is the
Okay, so let
culture
me
of the
simplify the
USA?
definition of culture for you.
Okay.
Uh, I think the definitions that you mentioned, they're okay, but they're too academic, right?
Okay.
So the best way to think of culture is the way there's actually a quote by Thomas Wolfe, and that quote basically says, "Culture is the arts elevated to a set of beliefs."
Okay.
So, it's- so
That's nice. Yeah.
so yeah, it's concise, it's simple,
Yeah.
and so when you talk about the arts, it's art, architecture, music, dance, food,
Right.
language, right? And now, if you want to take another view of culture, you can look at The Lord of the Rings. Uh, that that's one of my favorite books, and
Yeah.
it shows how an author, Tolkien, developed various different cultures from scratch.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess not. He took he was inspired by mythology and other areas, but he basically developed them. Created his own world and developed it, and their language was important, right? You saw architecture was a key aspect
Yeah.
of those, the people. So uh, that's the simplest way of thinking of culture.
Could you
Art,
repeat your definition one more time? Shelley's asked. You said it's a people's arts developed through their beliefs. Is that
yeah,
basically?
culture is the arts elevated to a set of beliefs.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Great.
yeah, let me just
So
type
let
it
me
in
go
here.
back. I'm sorry. Oh, you're going to type it in. Okay.
Yeah.
So while you're doing that, let me ask you, going back to the USA, and here's where I struggle, is are we isolated in the USA, or is this like, is the whole world experiencing this? It feels like you said arts elevated, through your belief system. What are our
Mhm.
beliefs? What are our beliefs as Americans nowadays? Do we have beliefs? And number two, what are our arts? It seems like we have become such a society of consumerism that, Joe Smith, he lives to get up, to go to work, to come home and, have McDonald's or whatever and watch football. And he goes to sleep and he repeats it each day. And, shopping is like a recreation, and scrolling on our phones and watching Netflix. And there, sure, there's like little enclaves of art still happening, but is Cardi B art and culture, or Megan Thee Stallion? We innovate, we make the iPod and Tesla, and we catch rockets, but are we? What are our beliefs? And is this, you think,
Yeah,
maybe
I
you
think it's all
disagree
of
with
them.
me, but
Yeah, I think it's all of them, right? I mean, all of the things that you just mentioned, they are part of the culture. So
okay.
if you are as an American, pop, pop culture is an aspect of culture,
Yeah.
but the arts itself. Um, Now we're less exposed to the arts that we are posting about today. Unless you're taking a specific history class, you're not necessarily being exposed to these famous paintings.
Yeah.
So it's uh, uh, so what are we exposed to? We're exposed to music, right? We're exposed to uh, Beyonce. We're exposed to uh, name your favorite singer. I mean, I listen to mostly singers from back in the 70s, 80s,
Yeah.
and maybe early 90s. but I don't. But my kids, they listen. They find that stuff old, and they said, "What are you listening to?"
You old man.
They
Yeah.
make fun of it, and I
Right.
make fun of what they're listening to, and they make fun of what I'm listening to.
Right. Right.
But
It's
basically,
probably that way for each generation.
right, exactly. I listened to that stuff when I was young, so now
Yeah.
they're listening at the age where they're able to, their minds are being shaped, their opinions are being shaped. They're listening to Beyonce, right? So that, for them, that's art. Uh, already there's a cultural gap right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I'm, I want to come back to that. Let me read this from Liberty Mom. She says, "Great discussion, gentlemen. Thank you. Does classical music fit into this culture discussion?"
it
Would you want
absolutely does.
to answer that?
Oh, it absolutely does. I
Absolutely.
had
Yeah.
to uh, classical music. I mean, when I was growing up, classical music wasn't a thing uh, because it was mostly modern rock, right? And maybe classical rock, Led Zeppelin. Uh,
Mhm.
that's that's where it got. But my parents used to listen to classical music,
You know where
and
I learned classical music?
yeah,
Looney
and
Tunes, Bugs Bunny. I'm serious. I love classical music now, and the gateway for it was the cartoons. I had a classical music station on, and I was like, I've heard this Bugs Bunny, and then or whatever. And once you hear a few of those, you're like, man, I really love this, and it's great. But continue on. I
yeah,
interrupted you.
I didn't realize that Bugs Bunny had classical music, but
Oh yeah, great
I had
stuff.
forgotten, long forgotten. But I mean, at that time, I thought, oh, well, what my parents would think that what I listen. I mean, I would say the same thing, right? My kids, was what they say to me right now. But I then made an attempt to kind of like it a little bit more, right? To listen to it a little bit more and to get to
Yeah,
know it and understand it. So there's an effort you have to kind of make uh, to kind of reach out and say, okay, all right, what is this? Well, why haven't I heard this before? Why don't my friends listen to this?
right.
Uh, but once you start doing this, I mean, you develop a taste for it. Um,
I
so
think I think one thing that troubles me is I love your definition, and you said elevated to your values. Um, but when I see Beyonce or fill in the blank, it doesn't seem like there's. It seems like the values are just hedonistic, basically just do
mhm,
whatever feels good, and those don't feel like values or virtues. They feel like just the lowest common denominator, like animalistic, which I don't think is human. I think what makes us human are the humanities, all the things we, culture, basically, the arts and doing all these things, but also a set of values. And I think that's what worries me or bothers me. And maybe it's just because I'm getting to be an old man, but, like my kids also, I hear them listening to this stuff and I'm like, yeah, you are impressionable. And what are you learning or hearing from this? And I guess you weathered it, I weathered it, and we turned out okay, I think. But so maybe we just, you know, you just can't you can't become Amish. Some people become Amish, but here we are in our society. So I guess we do the best we can with our kids and try to show them these beautiful things, which getting back to your account and X, that's why I think it's so important, is because we can share um, the great things from other civilizations in the past or present in other parts of the world and hopefully inspire people to see that, when you look at these duomos or churches, whatever, that took hundreds of years to build, that's not instant gratification. It's not I'm doing this for me because it feels good. It's
mhm.
I'm working towards something greater than myself for my society, for the values that are important, and I'm passing this down for future generations. um, we can't live just for ourselves. We owe it to uh, our forefathers and mothers that came before us that handed us what we have today, and we owe it to the
Right.
future generations who are going to inherit whatever we leave. And so I think that's why I'm so excited about your account on X and, sharing about culture and things like this on X, because, it's so important. And it feels like maybe I'm just like waking up to it and seeing what was already out there, but it feels like there's like a great awakening happening. Let me know, people, do you agree with me? Are you seeing the same thing? Do you feel the same way? That's how I feel. So that's why I'm excited about your account, Culture Explorer.
Same thing for you, David. I mean, your account is, you're giving these live family visits, right? And that makes it personal. The thing is that even before, right, I did not necessarily, to me, it wasn't that important. Looking at beautiful art. I mean, it was nice, but to me, that wasn't the most important thing. And now it has become. So there may be an awakening from that perspective that is happening. And that's happening because maybe we're getting older and we're traveling more and we're seeing more.
Yeah.
We're seeing what used to exist, right? And what was created before, and saying, oh, wow, we preserved all this. Or people before us preserved all this so that we can see it, right? And we got to do the same. We got to preserve it so our descendants can see the same, just like our ancestors did. So there's a quote, another quote that talks about culture, right? That's related to that. That if you can't appreciate what your ancestors built, how would you expect your descendants to appreciate what you built?
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's along the lines. I think Culture Critic posted today, and I kind of posted it on my timeline. I recorded it. There was a quote. I think it was along the same lines. Let me see if I can find it.
By Scruton?
Yeah, by Scruton. Yeah. I quoted it.
I'm smiling because you and Architect Holder have a back and forth about beauty, and Architect Holder loves Scruton and quotes him a lot. So I thought of both of you when I saw Culture Critic's quote earlier today.
Yeah, no. I mean, I love art. I mean, I've learned a lot from Architect Holder.
Oh yeah.
He's awesome. He's great.
Absolutely, I love him.
Where we differ is I still think beauty is subjective. He thinks beauty is objective, but I think we can come to the conclusion that there's both a subjective and objective component to it. There's an objective component which God created, and then there's a subjective component where we are fine-tuning. Oh, I like this a little bit better. I like the Botticelli's Birth of Venus more than someone like Caravaggio, right? Better, and that's where we're kind of where it becomes more subjective. But
I think people have different tastes about things. Like certain people like spicier food or mild food. But I think that there's still certain things that I don't have it all worked out. I see both of your sides, and I kind of feel like it's somewhere in the between. Like some people like spicy food, some people like mild food, but there's still something inherent that is what is good food. Like you don't pick up a handful of dirt and say, well, I just like the taste of dirt, and somebody's gonna say, well, that's good food for you. But like I think there's still such a thing as ultimate beauty and what it should convey, and it can be broken. And so we can't have certain things that are not idyllic beauty, but they are beautiful in a way, but they're like a fractured beauty. But I don't want to hijack the conversation with beauty, but I do want to post something or show something. Liberty Mom says, when I see pictures you post of beautiful architecture, cathedrals, art, etc., I hear different classical music pieces in my brain. I want to share them, but not sure how. What I like about that, thank you, Liberty Mom, is that it's kind of like as you start getting exposed and getting a taste for one beautiful thing, you start recognizing this other beautiful thing and being more attracted to it. Like first I started liking classical music, and then I started appreciating the architecture. Just like she's saying, they're all kind of interconnected.
They
There's
definitely
this
are. Yeah.
this beautiful thing that flows through them all, and it's like you train this muscle or develop this taste for a thing, and then you realize like, wow, there's so many wonderful things to taste out there. So
Exactly.
yeah,
And
that's great.
I think that's not just in music. Is that that's not just in art architecture, right? It's music,
Right.
it's dance, there's classical
Yeah.
dance, right?
Yeah.
And it just goes on and on. I think you can. Uh, it's it's looking at more tradition more. So classical, the definition I understood growing up of classical was more of tradition, past, olden days. Uh, though now I've come to learn that classical is specifically referring to the Greco-Roman, right?
Yeah.
Influence. So for me, when I say something is classical, I'm coming from a different perspective. I'm not necessarily. I'm not just limiting it to this Roman Greco period, but of course there's Gothic is different. Uh, uh, so
Yeah.
I think I see more as between tradition, the past,
Yeah.
and possibly the present, and that's where the difference that I see is the greatest, because now I mean the present is very minimalistic. Uh,
Yeah.
it doesn't have that grandeur of the past, uh, and to some extent, yeah, I think we still need to have minimalism because not everybody can afford grandeur, right? So
Yeah.
it needs to exist, but it needs to exist in harmony, just like it did in the olden days.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes somebody will love Rococo or Baroque or a certain style, and they think that everything today should look that way. And I disagree. I think that what those things were pointing to and why they were important should be important today. But like you're saying, like certain things minimalistically are beautiful. I think of like Art Deco. Um,
Mhm.
Sometimes it could just be very simple, straight lines, but it can still be inspiring and beautiful and uplifting and interesting in a positive way. There's lots of things that are interesting in a negative way, like so-called art, like a banana taped to a wall. Okay, you've
Mhm.
got my interest. Like, why did you do that? But it's not like a
Yes,
purposeful or uplifting way. But I think Art Deco was. So I think, but when you look at like brutalism and there's just ugly structures, it's just like out of you know, something straight out of a factory with no idea about beauty or form. It's just purely for function. It's just very degrading and not uplifting, and makes you
this
feel
is
like
right.
a cog in a machine, right? Not
Yeah, yeah.
not a great individual. Hey, before I forget, you have slides and some pictures you want to show, and I don't know if those are in relation to some of your travels or some things that inspire you. That's kind of where I wanted to turn next, though, was kind of talking about either destinations that you've traveled to or are eager to visit and why. And if your photos play into that, great. And if not, you can kind of just talk through your photos. But I'm going to put them up
Yeah,
here.
Yeah, they do play into that.
Okay, great.
Or places that I've visited. Okay, so this is what Florence, right? This is the
Oh yeah.
Duomo, and this
Yes.
is what uh, I wanted to visit for a long time because that was the birthplace of the Renaissance, and
Yeah.
got a chance to do that. Um,
When I went to
and
Florence, I was ignorant of this building, Santa Maria del Fiore, and when I turned the
Mhm.
corner and I saw this, I about fell over. It is so beautiful. It is overwhelming, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's a Netflix series. I don't know if you've seen it, The Medici's.
I have not.
Mhm. It's called Medici's Master of Florence.
Okay.
Uh, I'd seen that, and that's where I got interested in uh, visiting Italy. Uh, so it talks a lot about. Uh, I mean, this was one of the structures that they were building. So it goes to the Medici family, and Medici family were the biggest patrons of Renaissance Florence. If it wasn't for them, perhaps Florence would be a lot more like uh, Charleston,
Okay.
uh, rather than what it is, right?
Yeah.
So if you get a chance to watch that, you should watch it. I think it's pretty good. It also goes into the politics and all the intriguing drama that happened. So it's a uh, uh, great series to watch. Um,
I'll definitely check it out.
so I'd seen that before I went to Florence and kind of had an idea of okay what I wanted to see, uh, and this was the number one thing because that's uh, uh, he was like talking to Brenda Shelley and like, uh, is it done? What's taking so long and all that? So
Yeah. Now, let me
um,
ask you this. I talked about this before when I was on Architect Older's Spaces. Is one thing that I think we risk sometimes is we post all these glamour shots of the church you just showed, or here's Trevi Fountain, and they look so beautiful. And do you think we run a risk of setting people's expectations so high, and then because so much of what we enjoy or don't enjoy about a trip or an experience is what our expectations were going into it. And everybody's seen like the Instagram picture versus reality kind of comparison of this beautiful idyllic scene, and then in real life it's just crowded with hordes of people trying to get their Instagram picture. Um, Sometimes I wonder, like, are we getting people excited and then they're going to be let down? I mean, what do you think about that?
I can tell you that this building exactly is exactly the same
Yeah,
as you see in
you're
the
not going to be
pictures.
disappointed.
You're not going to be disappointed.
Right.
When you, I mean, once you walk inside it, uh, I mean, outside is so overwhelming that once you walk inside it, you may be a little bit underwhelmed. But
Yeah, the
if you
interior,
look at the
right.
but if you look at the floor and you look at the
Yeah,
dome, you're
yeah,
not disappointed,
right.
right? Uh, but the outside is just so spectacular.
Yeah,
I mean, as you said, as you approach it, and all of a sudden you see it, it's just majestic, right? It has this
yeah,
captivating aura. It's like wow. I mean, wow just comes out of you.
right. And you really need to. There's so much going on. You really need to just get up close to it and just stand there and just look it over, because there's so many sculptures and details and meaning and scenes that are meaningful. It's you got to see the individual trees instead of just the forest. I take a
Exactly.
camera that's got a great big zoom lens, and I'll just sit there and zoom in, right up on all the little details and snap all kinds of photos. And I'll see stuff that my wife can't see it from her van, and I'll show it to her, like, look what's up there. It's just you got to take some time to appreciate the
Yeah,
details.
I did exactly that with the Sagrada Familia,
Yeah.
uh, because in order to look at the sculptures on the building, you have to use a camera, and
Yeah.
it's amazing. And when you use it, it's amazing when you zoom in. Because you
Yes.
can't see them from the bottom, and when you see them from the top, it's a spectacular.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
uh, so yeah, so Florence, Italy, Rome, right? That was
Yeah.
the other place that I went to, and I just chose this. But by the way, when I go somewhere, I'm not as concerned about taking shots. Uh, I mean, most of them are typically family pictures.
Yeah.
Uh, so to remember that, but uh, I, I don't focus too much on taking shots. Otherwise, you don't enjoy as much of the
Yeah.
trip. Uh,
You can always find this picture online, right?
exactly. That's where, yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
So I'm sharing more online pictures rather than my own
Yeah.
family pictures, because one, I'm not the best photographer. I'm not
Yeah.
an experienced photographer, and secondly, there are crowds, right?
Right.
You're
Yeah.
you're, you're competing with crowds for photo sessions.
Yeah. Yeah. I take hundreds and hundreds of pictures when I travel, but it's mostly, I'm capturing my kids as we're walking down the street, or or when I
Mhm.
see an interesting detail of the Trevi Fountain or something, I'm definitely taking pictures. Like, because usually you're seeing an overall glamour shot like this. I definitely love to zoom in and capture like what is really going on here. But
Right.
when I take just hundreds of pictures, I can go back through my pictures and it's like I'm just reliving my trip. I remember what I had to eat, and
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
bird went to the bathroom on my daughter in the
Yeah.
middle of the Coliseum. Just
True.
each day you can remember. So it's a lot of fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, the Sagrada Familia. Uh,
yeah. I'm hoping to see this next year.
yeah, it's beautiful, and next year it's going to be open too, right? So
Right, it's
it
supposed to be
might.
finished. Yeah,
Yeah. So that would be awesome.
yeah,
Um, and like here, I mean, not only I don't know, a lot of people undermine it. To me, I thought this was wow. And the nice thing here was that I was able to rent a Airbnb right next to it.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
and so the view from the room was the basilica. It was just beautiful.
Wow, wow.
It was over at McDonald's, but
Still worth it.
uh, it was amazing. So got a chance, and I think this is one of those places you have to book a ticket well in advance. Uh, I had done this when I visited Spain and Morocco, but I wasn't able to when I was in Spain. I wasn't able to see it, uh, and luckily on the way back from Morocco, we were going back through through Barcelona back to the U.S. And so I was able to book that that one day that we were there, uh,
Nice.
but not in the original trip. Uh,
Yeah,
and
that's one thing. When you travel nowadays with the internet, you have to know that when the tickets come available, you got to book them well ahead of time, because
exactly,
I think
yeah,
gone are the days that you can just walk up and get a ticket, or if you do, you're going to be waiting in line, 3/4 of the
yeah,
day, and ruin
right,
your whole trip.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, this is Seville Cathedral outside, um, and just wanted to make a note that it's not only the inside that counts. Uh, Sometimes we
Right.
have such beautiful detail just right at the entrance. Of course, there's lot of stuff inside, including Columbus's dome, but there is so much detail to look just even on the entrance when you
Yeah.
enter, um,
That
especially the
reminds me
Gothic.
of
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Duomo in Milan. It is just the whole outside is just covered
Right,
with
exactly.
beautiful scenes like this. You really could just spend all day enjoying it.
Yeah, my this with the Duomo in Milan. The other thing to do is when you visit, if you ever visit Milan, you need to know what's going on. So when I
Hmm.
happened to visit Milan, they were having a world uh, trade show,
Okay.
holding it there, and so when I went to visit the Duomo, it was basically closed,
Mm.
and it was surrounded by a concert,
Yeah.
and uh, uh, and the concert was what's his name? Like a couple of Italian opera singers and
Huh.
great classical singers. Uh, I'm forgetting the name right now.
At least it was opera, not Cardi B. It's
Huh?
a little
Yeah,
more
right,
fitting.
right. No, 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 it was great. So it was beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful voice, beautiful classical music. So at least got
Nice.
a chance to listen to that, even though I only saw the building from out. I didn't get a chance to go inside from outside, but at least got a chance to enjoy. So you need to be aware of there's no other major events going on.
You're right. Right. That's always hard. Well, I've been to Milan twice, and first time I went, we climbed to the rooftop of the Duomo, and it was fantastic. But
Right.
when you're traveling, you always try to maximize your days, but you've always got jet lag when you get there. So we landed in Milan at like, I don't know, 7 o'clock in the morning their time, and we didn't sleep on the plane worth a darn. And so we go to the Duomo and we climb, and there's all these stairs to get to the top, and we're just like we're dead. It's so hard, but it's so amazing. It kept us awake, and then we went to see the Last Supper. It's only about, I don't know, half a mile or so from here. We walked over there, had our tickets, and we're sitting to go in, and my wife just falls asleep on the on the street curb. We were dead tired, but we'll never forget it. So you gotta maximize your time when you're traveling, of course. But
Yeah, I don't necessarily do that. I don't take that approach that I have to see
oh yeah,
everything. I take the approach of, okay, I'm gonna maybe see two things during the day,
okay, yeah,
and this is the time kind of enjoy it too. So if
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
necessarily get to see everything, it's okay.
yeah,
But kind of because then kids are also tired, and
yeah. Sure, when you got kids, especially.
yeah, and well, I mean they're older now too, but they have their
Yeah,
own interests as well. So
yeah,
I try to avoid seeing too much
yeah.
because for exactly that reason, you get like overexhausted, then you kind of start enjoying it less.
Right, right. I try to plan like you're saying, but I'm always like, oh man, when am I going to get back
Yeah,
here? And there's this other thing. I got to see it. It's right there. First time I went to Florence, I didn't go to the Uffizi Gallery. I didn't see Ponte Vecchio. And
okay.
when I went back, everybody was kind of like, "Oh, we want to sleep in. We want to." I was like, "Okay, see you, folks." I like ran down there. I was like first one in the morning, and I had the Uffizi Gallery to myself, and it was fantastic. So
Yeah, yeah, no, that definitely is. And you do. I mean,
yeah,
I regret that in Rome I left not going into the St. Peter's Basilica. Uh,
yeah,
I saw the line there. I said, let's not worry about it. Uh,
yeah,
but I only learned afterward what was in it.
yeah. It's a reason to go back, right?
Yeah,
Hopefully, we got many more years to see these things.
exactly. Hopefully,
Yep.
uh, this one here is Boston. Um,
Yeah.
I've lived in Boston for several years, but Boston is, I think, one of the most beautiful cities in the U.S., in my opinion,
Yeah.
um, uh, because it has the architecture of old.
Hmm.
It also has large other modern buildings, but it also has a lot of Art Deco buildings. Uh,
Right.
nice architecture. The banks, right? They're not necessarily just bland, brutalist structures. They are, I mean, they're designed in a, but it has history. So
Yeah.
I think
And,
if
and they also did the big dig, and they buried a lot of their
yeah, exactly.
highway system. So it's not just cut through the middle of neighborhoods and eating up the town. You've got nice green spaces, and you can enjoy the city.
Yeah, it gets a bad name because of that sculpture that they put up, the Martin Luther.
Oh yeah, it's
The,
like the weird arms like hugging.
yeah, the embrace,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
It gets a bad rap of that, and also the city hall the new city hall that they built.
Oh yeah,
But
it's like the
other
ugliest in
than
the world.
yeah, so people who want to like take a blow on uh, uh, attack Boston, they point to those things, but it has a lot more.
It does. And a lot of the U.S. lacks a lot of physical history. But if you go to Boston, you can walk the Freedom Trail. You can see where Paul
Yeah,
Revere's house was, and so many things. The old North Church and all that, Boston Massacre site, Boston Green. It's a really great family trip place, I think.
right, exactly. So then here's Manila, Philippines. I lived here for
Wow.
7 years,
Oh
and
wow.
yeah, in the Philippines. I chose to. I mean, I just gave this as a pick the Supreme Court building as a example of classical architecture. It's not just Europe, right? It's not.
Yeah.
It's not just Europe, the West. It's also as much in the East, and a lot of the structures that are built in the Philippines, they had Spanish influence, American influence. Let me see. I think this one. Okay, and then this is Pakistan. I lived here for about 8 years, also here.
Wow.
And
Man, you've really seen the world.
Yeah, I've been to. I've lived in a lot of places,
That's amazing.
or at least got a chance to see a lot of different places.
Yeah.
And this is the Mughal architecture. If you go inside, it's like very
Wow.
intricate design, right? This is all abstract art, and so when people make fun of abstract art, I said it's absolutely gorgeous. It's much it has as much beauty as uh, 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 Renaissance art. It's just different, right? It's a different perspective. These are all geometric shapes here.
Yeah.
It's all geometry, like here as well. All geometry, right? Everything's
Right.
symmetrical. And this is, yeah, okay, I got my flights in order. This is back in Manila, Philippines. This is a
Okay.
Spanish church, one of the old churches in the Philippines. It kind of looks old. I mean, maybe not as pleasant from outside, but it's pretty beautiful. And if you go inside, it's very nice. So this kind of, I mean, this architecture is spread all over the world. It's not just. This is the beach. So the Philippines was also known for its beaches. Their beaches are very beautiful, and this is one of the beach, Subic Beach, in Matnog, Philippines. So growing up here, we used to go, especially on like Easter breaks and Christmas breaks. We would go visit the beaches, or we'll stay there for a few days. And there wasn't as many people. Now beaches have become a lot more touristy, right?
Oh, okay.
But at that time when I lived there, they were often quiet, and you could
It's
get
gorgeous.
a cabin close by and just kind of live for a few days there and enjoy life. In
Yeah,
seclusion.
yeah. I mean, culture. So often we're looking at buildings and things like that. We're talking about beauty. We're looking at buildings and paintings and things. But how can you top nature? Look how gorgeous that is. And talking
Right.
about culture, so much of our ancestors' history has been just living, with culture like or with nature like this.
That's true.
It's
That's
hard to
true.
top.
Yeah.
It's great to
Right.
appreciate.
So here,
Wow.
this is South Korea. This is one of the palaces. It's one of the old ancient palaces in South Korea. I got a chance to visit that. So, I mean, the architecture is now quite different, right, from
Yeah.
what we're used to in eastern part of Northeast Asia or Eastern Asia. I mean, these kind of buildings, these structures are built without nails. Can you imagine
Yeah.
that?
Wow. That is incredible. Do you know? I know somewhat about the Korean War, but I don't know how much damage there was in South Korea. Were places like this destroyed and then rebuilt after the war, or is this original? Do you know?
You know, I think they're always renovating. Even when I
Yeah.
went
Sure.
there,
Sure.
they're doing some renovations. So I don't know, but I never looked into the history. Um,
Yeah.
but
I,
much
I've
of
been to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Seoul is very modern too, right? So it's
Yeah.
uh, probably a lot was probably destroyed, and um, uh, they may have few places like these. Or if you go outside the city, then you have the shrines and so forth. Um,
Yeah. That I've been to Japan twice, and Japan did suffer a lot of damage during the Second World War, and so a lot of their ancient temples and things like that were burned down. But there are certain places in Kyoto. They've got this giant temple. I think it's that I can't remember what it's called. It's like the Great Buddha, and this Buddha is from like I don't
yeah,
know 700 or 800 AD. It's in Nara, and the wood structure is like from that same time. It's the biggest wooden structure. I can't remember what the classification was, but it's amazing. But even the reconstructions in the other places, palaces and things like that, are just really unbelievable. And you kind of have that too. You got this classical Asian architecture right next
yeah,
to how Japan is super high tech and modern. So it's kind of neat
yeah. Yeah.
juxtaposition.
And they're doing a nice job again with preserving it, right? So
Yeah. Right. Right.
it's like now this is Morocco, in
Wow.
Marrakesh. This is a mosque there,
Hmm.
and again, it's very beautiful nice architecture there. Um, this is Vanuatu. My parents lived in this island for like 3 years.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
so my parents
Man,
traveled a lot.
how'd you ever get him to leave? That's beautiful.
Huh?
Oh,
This is in the South Pacific, near Australia, near Fiji,
okay.
and so it's known as I think the New Hebrides. Uh, it's prominent in World War II. It was a prominent area in World War II.
Okay.
Uh, it was, I think, used as part of bases, or there was a lot of fighting going on
Yeah.
around the time. But again, this is a small island. It's um, pretty much all beach along the coast, and uh, there's this one road that kind of goes around it. I think you can. I think it took me 5 hours to cover the island
Oh wow. That'd be
by
that'd be kind of cool.
driving.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's several islands, though, and there's also a volcano in one of the islands as well. Um, Interestingly, the house where my parents stayed, uh, after they moved, about 2 years later, there was like a big typhoon,
Uh,
uh, and that entire area was like damaged and destroyed.
wow.
So they got lucky.
Yeah. Sometimes beauty comes with a pretty high cost, danger.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, that's pretty
That's
much.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing those. That's wow. You've been to some amazing places and introduced me to some pretty amazing places that I'd love to check out. I want to ask you a couple more questions, and then I want to hear about some of your um, um, commercial side, what you're working on with X.
Okay.
And I just want to tell everybody that's watching. I know I got a message here. Somebody had to turn in for the night. This is
Yeah.
recorded.
Liberty
It
Mall.
will be available on X, so you can come back and watch it at any time and share it with other people. And if you're not following Culture Explorer, please do so afterwards. I would recommend you subscribe to him. And if you're not following me, I'd appreciate a follow. But please drop in your questions in the comment section, and we'll be reading those off here, especially as we're going to be winding down here soon. But I want to know through all your travels, you've been so many places, you've lived places. um, are there any like cultural movements or concepts that you've seen elsewhere that you wish you could bring to the United States? You know, just something like, man, they really got it right. It's something we should have here, or something that, you know, that like the whole world could share that is lacking in the United States.
People make fun of the U.S., but I see everything here already. I mean, you have some beautiful Gothic architecture here. You have great neoclassical architecture, right? And
Yeah.
if you go to Washington D.C., and there's a lot
Right.
of great architecture. If you go to California, you're gonna see some great Spanish architecture there. If you go to New England, you have great beaux arts, right? French, a mix of French architecture. So, and you can find every type of restaurant here. You
Yep.
can enjoy. I mean, there are a lot of cultural shows that I've been to from different countries in the world, which I wouldn't be able to enjoy in any other country.
Yeah.
But having lived in if you live in big places like Boston or even Los Angeles, having lived in those areas, I got exposed to a lot of that.
Yeah.
So when people say that U.S. doesn't have culture, I think U.S. definitely has culture. Question is what is prioritized?
Yeah.
What is uh, there's more. Of course, there's more of the concerts and that play a big role, and sports play a big role
Yeah.
in the society here. But equally, there's everything else. I mean, you can do it. There's nothing else you can do. There's nothing you can do in the U.S. that you can't, or there's nothing you can do anywhere else in the world that you can't do in the U.S.
Gotcha. Okay.
I even saw, if you in Boston, north of Boston, there's a city called Lawrence. One time I was driving through it. This is like towards near the New Hampshire border. I was driving through it, and there was a big Spanish procession. We see all these videos of like Spanish cultural ceremonies being like processions going on the streets. People talking about them and saying, "Oh wow, oh I don't need to go to Spain to see those. I saw them uh, in the U.S. Of course, I've seen them in Spain as well, but it's surprising that when you would see, I saw them in the Philippines too, because Philippines had a lot of Spanish culture. In Mexico as well,
Yeah.
there's a lot of Spanish influence there, right? So
Hmm.
um, I, I think when people say that U.S. is dry, it may look dry, but it's pretty rich.
Right. I've said something similar earlier that, you know, we don't have a culture. I definitely think there's opportunities to take in cultural arts, and there, like you said, there are. You can go to Manhattan, and there's St. Patrick's Cathedral, beautiful Gothic architecture.
Yeah.
Um, but I guess what I'm saying is, it seems like we have lost. Going back to that T.S. Eliot quote, like when there's not like, it seems like so much culture around the world has a religious foundation, even if it's a different
Mhm.
religion, and then those values and ideals are taught to the generation, or taught to the next generation, and preserved through the architecture, through the buildings, through the songs, through the art, and all that kind of stuff. And it seems like, um, yeah, I try to think through all this. It seems like through the Age of Enlightenment, and like we've reduced everything down to what can we measure, what can we learn. That is knowledge. That's what's important, not faith, not abstract. And it seems like we don't teach those things as much now. And what you are reduced to is just pleasure and what feels good, instead of like virtuous things, that you find in religion and that you carry on to the next generation. So it just feels like it's empty, like an empty culture to me. Even though you can go see Puccini or a Mozart
Mhm.
symphony or something like that, that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Yeah, and I think most of the world is kind of facing the same. To me, that's more of an issue between uh, a family-oriented society versus an
Yeah, right.
individual-oriented society. And I think you see individualism a lot more in the U.S., right? It's
Yeah,
about self. It's about uh,
right.
so that has a big so versus tradition. And I think
Right.
there are a lot of accounts now, right, that you see on X that are talking about tradition
Yeah.
and like
And
Art of
I think
Purpose
there's such
does
a
that.
hunger for it. Yeah, right. And Culture Critic it preaches
The credit,
on
yeah,
that a lot.
exactly.
And I
Yeah.
think it's because there's such a hunger for it, because we're so I don't know. They're feeling the hunger. We're feeling the hunger because we've been starved of it. And it seems like the maybe part of the culture of the United States is this individualism, um, and that almost seems like the antithesis of culture. Like it seems like culture is like, as a collective people, these are our values and what's important, and this is who we are and what we teach. And it seems like, no, people. I'm a proud American. I love my country, but I'm just I'm giving a critique here as well. It feels like it's like hey, it's all about me. I get to decide. Even today, I get to decide what's right and wrong, and anything is on the table. I can choose what it is. Of course, there's a backlash to that now. But it seems like that's where we've been, and I think that's why
Yeah.
it feels a little hollow. But um,
I think if you go too much to one side, there's usually a reaction to try to
a
come back.
backlash, yeah, right. I think that's where we are right now. People, if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments below. We'll be reading these off. We're going to be wrapping up here soon. As people are doing that, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank you, Culture Explorer. But before we go, please, could you tell us a little bit about, you've got some interesting things for people who are interested in taking the next step in X. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, first, let me just talk a little bit about my newsletter. Um, and so that's something that it kind of started uh, mainly because the idea that you don't own your followers, right? That you don't have really have access to your followers when
Yeah.
you're on uh, when you're on X.
Hmm.
Uh, X controls X has that list unless they're subscribing to you and then they share their email address with you, then you have kind of access to them. So I have a newsletter that uh, I go into more detail on the topics that I post. With posting, you can only do so much. So
Right.
I can talk a little bit more about the topics and places. Uh, and so I've been focusing on that quite a bit. So that's my number. That's one area outside of X that I've kind of spent a lot of time in. And let me see if I
And,
can.
and it's free to subscribe to your newsletter. and
Yeah.
what you put in it really is great. People, it's kind of like you're saying, the threads are kind of like the appetizer, and the newsletter is like the full meal. You can dive in deeper, and it is really high quality stuff. I'm really impressed. I wonder, when do you sleep? You put out fantastic threads. You have fantastic newsletters. You are, comment on posts. You're doing a show tonight. You're a busy man. I'm really impressed.
Good question. When do I sleep? Uh, uh, I sleep at night. The good thing is that I'm not working right now, right? And I'm trying to basically now. I'm over 50, and I'm trying to build my uh, own thing. So I don't have those
Yeah,
additional responsibilities. I have less
that's nice.
responsibilities, so that
That's
gives
great.
me some extra time to do that. So yeah, if people are interested in subscribing to the newsletter, what I'll do is I'll put the link underneath your let me see. Yeah, so I'm going to put the link under the post that you have
Okay.
on X in your profile, if people are interested in that, and they can subscribe and subscribe to it. The other thing that I'm working on is I have been in the masterclass with Art of Purpose, and so I've done this enough, and I've had a chance to kind of grow and kind of learn a lot for him that I do some courses now.
Mm-hmm.
He's planning to do. He's going to be holding a academy for how to develop content. So if anybody is interested in kind of learning what kind of content to create, I'm going to put a link to that. There's a workshop that is called Content Academy, and the workshop is a 4-day workshop from March 20th to March 23rd. I think it's like Thursday to Sunday or something like that. And coming up, and I learned a lot about how to write good posts and good threads on it. I had learned threads on my own partly, but I couldn't write a post like a simple post. I was approaching it from a informational perspective, but in his courses, he focuses on human psychology, right, and how people think. So it's not about how you think, what you think is cool. It's about what people think is cool. So that's one of the most important aspects of content creation that you got to be familiar with. So he spends a lot of that time in there. In fact, in that it's a workshop. There are multiple courses in that workshop for the same cost, for one cost, and it is pretty intensive. Culture. Art of Purpose has several courses that he's teaching as part of that workshop. Then there are other people as well. Culture Critic is going to be doing on how to do long form writing. And then I'm going to also spend I have a session where I'll be working with people live, creating posts and threads, and we'll be doing it live. So I'll be helping people with that.
That is great.
So these are some of the things that I've kind of been involved in, and kind of trying to get more involved in mentoring, kind of giving it back to people, right? What I've learned, trying to share some of that so that others can kind of grow like I did, as well as I'm getting into ghostwriting. now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because once you learn how to create content, I think there are a lot of people who are kind of interested in content creation. They don't have the time to do it.
Yeah.
So ghostwriting for people who want an idea of where you can go from here, ghostwriting is
Oh,
definitely one of the things that you could do
that's
more
really
of,
interesting.
because you just get better at knowing how to get people's attention. And once you know how to get people's attention, then writing for other people becomes a little bit easier.
Oh, that's great, man. It sounds like you've got a great a great hobby that is also profitable for you. So that's, kudos to you. That's great. I want to say, people, if you want to ask questions, don't comment on the post. You have to click in the video. If you're on your phone, it's going to be at the bottom. It'll say live chat, and go ahead and just type in your question there. If you're on a laptop or a PC, it's going to be over on the right-hand side, and it'll say chat. I'm not seeing any questions come through right now. I know we've had some problems in the past, so I don't know if anybody's having any problems with that. But if so, you can shoot me a direct message, and I'll read your question on here. But it really has been a great show. I really appreciate you, Culture Explorer. And like I said, people, it's a couple bucks to subscribe to him, and he really is super helpful. Even if you aren't in his classes, you can shoot him a message, ask, and he is so just helpful with me. He's been great in kind of leading the next wave of people coming up on X, teaching them his craft. It's really been good for me. And if you go to his account, I think you've got a button that says like shopping or something like that. And I think you list your masterclass and your newsletter and things like that. So you can also find those there.
Right,
But,
that's true.
Yeah. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I do want to, before we say goodbye, I want to say that next week, on March 18th, we'll be having Architect Older. So a friend of each of ours. So I'm really looking forward to that show as well. I hope you'll all come back for that. Right now is your chance. If anybody's got any questions, to drop them, and we'll get to those. But I'll ask you one last question while we're giving people a chance here. If you can pick which question here you want to answer. One would be, if you could spend a month anywhere, where would it be and why? And cost isn't an issue. It's just you get to be there cost free. Or if you could invite a historical figure to dinner, who would it be and why?
I think the first one is easier.
Okay.
The second one would require a little bit more thinking.
Okay.
So I would go with the first one, and I think for me, there's so much to see in Italy that I think it would be worth spending a month there. But technically, I can say that about any other. I can say the same thing about Spain. I can say the same thing about Turkey.
Yeah.
U.S. I haven't visited. I mean, I've visited a lot of places in the U.S., but there's still a lot to see. I mean, these are tough questions, but oftentimes I haven't been to Africa. I've been to Africa as in Morocco, but I haven't been to the southern part of Africa, where you have the safaris, Namibia desert, and there's a lot to see there too, right?
Absolutely.
So there's always that. Do I go back to a place to visit, or do I go somewhere new?
Right.
I still need to see Hungary, Budapest. My daughter saw it, but I haven't seen it. So
Budapest is great.
Yeah, right. So it's tough.
My wife and I went to Italy the first time. I had to go there for work, so I was in Milan. That's part of the reason why we rushed to go to the cathedrals, because I had to go to work the next day. So we had like half a day free day. So we're like, okay, let's make the most of it. And we saw some of the highlights. We went to we were in Milan. We went to Florence. We went to Rome. We went to Naples.
Mhm.
We went to Pompeii, and we kind of saw the highlights at each. And we were like, "Oh my goodness, we really got to come back." And so we went back, but this time we brought my in-laws and one of my
Yeah.
daughters, and is like, you can't go to those places and not go see the highlights, like we already saw. So it was a lot of like revisiting things
Right.
we already saw. Um, but we got to see a lot of new places too. And I got to say, like, twist my arm to go to the Coliseum again. It's great to visit a second or third time. Um, but yeah, I'm the same way. It's always like, you know, go someplace new or revisit. But what I would really like to do, like you said, it would be fantastic to spend a month in a place and really get to know it, not as a tourist, but
Yeah.
like know the back out, know the best coffee shop, know some of the people there, and just kind of live in their shoes and experience it. It would be really really
So
fantastic. I
actually,
hope to do some of that in retirement.
yeah. So I'm actually hoping to do some of that over the next 4 or 5 years. I am trying to uh, put myself in a position where I am not bound to a single place,
Yeah, yeah,
and see if I can live in different places
that would be
for
awesome.
for a few months each. So that's the next. Let's see if how well it works out, but that's the next step.
So you'll be live streaming with us, and you'll show us the live view from the beach or from Brunelleschi's dome or something like that, right? That'll be awesome.
Yeah, that could be an option in the future.
Yeah,
Uh,
that sounds
Live
good.
streaming. Yeah, um, I mean that would be nice to do, but yeah, I haven't fully thought it out. But I have thought of like how to spend in different places. So
That's great. Well, Culture Explorer, thank you so much, sir. I'm indebted to you for your help along the way, and I really appreciate you coming on the show tonight. I don't see any more comments or questions, so either you've done a really good job of answering everything, or maybe we're having some technical difficulties here. But
or I've bored everybody.
what's that?
Or I've bored everybody.
No, no. The numbers keep growing. I'm watching the numbers here, so people are tuning in and they're enjoying this. So,
Okay.
people, this is recorded. If you could share this afterwards, repost it. Culture Explorer and I would really appreciate it. And of course, if you're not following both of us, we would really appreciate that as well. But yeah, say hello. Let us know that you tuned in tonight, and what you enjoyed and what you didn't. We've got a lot of other good shows coming up in the future, and I hope Culture Explorer that you'll be a guest again in the future.
Okay.
And I think we could have a lot of fun. But again, folks, tune in next week. We will have Architect Older. Really looking. Let's see here if I can show the screen. Yeah, Architect Older will be our special guest next week. Really looking forward to that one. But for tonight, thank you, Culture Explorer, and have a good night, everybody. I will see
Thank
you
you,
next
David.
time. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, sir. All
Take care.
right. Bye
Bye.
bye.